Oblivion Remastered is finally here, and it's packed with more than just visual upgrades. From hidden movie references to clever nods to books, games, and real-world history, this version brings a whole new layer of depth to a classic. I've gone through every corner of the game to pull together some of the best Easter eggs and secrets, some you might remember and others you probably missed. So let's dive in.
So, are you ready to mingle with the doomed house guests?
One of the most memorable quests in the Dark Brotherhood storyline is titled Whodunit. In it, you're invited to a secluded manor under the false pretense of a social gathering. The actual objective, however, is to eliminate all the guests one by one, ideally without any of them knowing. The structure of the quest is a near-exact homage to Agatha Christie's novel And Then There Were None. Each character in the quest mirrors one of Christie's archetypes. Mathilde Petit is the old maid, Neville is the aging military officer, Devesi Dran represents the young woman, Nels the naughty is the cheerful brute, and Primo Antonius plays the entitled aristocrat. Just like in the novel, the guests have no idea who invited them, and everyone gets trapped inside, mirroring the storm that isolates the characters in Christie's work. Upstairs on the dinner table, 6 sweet rolls sit neatly on a plate, representing the novel's figurines that disappear one by one as each murder occurs.
She murdered everyone, and now she wants to murder us too. We have to get her first.
The Dark Brotherhood storyline is also filled with literary and cinematic influences. It begins with the player's recruitment by Lucien LeChance, a cloaked figure who visits you while you sleep and offers you a chance to join the Dark Brotherhood.
You sleep rather soundly for a murderer. That's good. You'll need a clear conscience for what I'm about to propose.
His demeanor closely resembles Lucien Lacroix, a vampire from the Canadian TV series Forever Night, who lures the protagonist into a secret society of the undead. LeChance serves a similar function, guiding the player into the Brotherhood's shadowy network of contracts and blood oaths. As the Dark Brotherhood questline unfolds, things start to spiral. After completing a string of assassinations through anonymous dead drop orders, you start a mission called Following a Lead. That's when Lucien LeChance shows up again, but this time he's in a panic. He thinks you've betrayed the Brotherhood and killed off its leaders. At first, it's a tense confrontation, but once he sees you're genuinely confused, he starts putting the pieces together. Someone else has been messing with the orders. You haven't been killing random targets, you've been wiping out the Black Hand, one member at a time, without even knowing it. To find out who's behind it all, LeChance sends you to Anvil to watch over the next dead drop. That's where you catch the person who's been replacing the orders. But even they aren't working alone.
It was the robed man. He paid me to put those things in the barrel.
The trail leads you to the lighthouse in Anvil, where a hidden trapdoor takes you down into a secret cellar. What you find down there is straight out of a horror movie. Rotting animal corpses, human remains, and a heavy sense of something gone terribly wrong. Right in the middle of it all is a severed head, carefully labeled Mother's Head. If that sounds familiar, it should. It's a direct reference to Friday the 13th Part 2, where Jason Voorhees keeps his mother's decapitated head and treats it like a kind of shrine. The game doesn't spell it out for you, but it's clear that this was meant to feel just as unsettling. I don't know if you noticed, but the Dark Brotherhood Initiation Quest's title is a direct reference to Chapter 11 of The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien, also named A Knife in the Dark. In the book, the hobbits are attacked by the Nazgul at Weathertop, a remote hill where they've made camp for the night. Oblivion mirrors this setup with your first Brotherhood contract. You're sent to the Inn of Ill Omen to assassinate a man named Rufio who's sleeping alone in his room. While the locations differ, both scenes involve a nighttime ambush against an unsuspecting target, making the quest title a clear nod to the original chapter. The quest titled An Unexpected Voyage begins with what seems like a quiet overnight stay aboard the bloated float, a ship turned floating inn docked at the Imperial City's waterfront. But the peaceful setting doesn't last. You wake up to find the ship no longer moored, now drifting out to sea under the control of a gang of armed thieves. During a confrontation with Celine, the group's leader, you're given a dialogue option to claim you're just the ship's cook. The moment is a direct reference to the 1992 action film Under Siege, where Steven Seagal plays a former Navy SEAL who, after a failed mission, is demoted and reassigned as the cook aboard a battleship.
Like some special forces guy or something.
No, I'm just a cook.
But in Oblivion, the bluff doesn't work. Celine immediately sees through the lie and attacks you on the spot. Like the film, the quest plays out aboard a ship on its final run. In Under Siege, the battleship is about to be decommissioned. In Oblivion, the bloated float is already retired and permanently docked as an inn. The setup places you in the same unlikely role, the lone cook who ends up taking back the ship from its hijackers. During the Breaking the Siege of Kvatch quest, you enter the Kvatch Oblivion realm, a scorched landscape of fire, ash, and flowing lava. Near one of the lava streams, a burned body lies slumped on a slope in a pose that will be instantly recognizable to fans of Star Wars Episode 3: Revenge of the Sith. It's a clear nod to the moment just after Obi-Wan Kenobi warns Anakin Skywalker,
"I have the high ground!"
before their duel ends with Anakin severely burned beside a lava river. The scene has since become a widely shared meme, and this in-game reference plays off that recognition. It isn't explicitly acknowledged, but for those familiar with the film, it's hard to miss. The quest titled Nothing You Can Possess, offered by a high elf mage living in the Talos Plaza district of the Imperial City, is a direct reference to Raiders of the Lost Ark, 1981, the first film in the Indiana Jones series. The mage, known for his obsession with rare artifacts, hires you to retrieve a valuable carving from an undisclosed location. But once you recover it, you're ambushed by a rival treasure hunter who tries to force you to hand it over. The moment closely mirrors a scene from the film where Indiana Jones is made to surrender a golden idol to his rival, Dr. René Belloc, who calmly says,
"Dr. Jones, again we see there is nothing you can possess which I cannot take away."
The quest borrows both the name and setup of that scene, placing you in a similar situation, doing all the work only to have someone else try to walk away with the result.
I don't know much about that ghost, but some say he died in a horrible shipwreck. I'd stay away from him if I were you. Bad omen. Each night he wanders the shore of Nibbon Bay. Then he stops and looks mournfully out to sea. They're calling him the Forlorn Watchman. Spooky.
In the ghost-haunted wreck of the MMA, encountered during the quest The Forlorn Watchman, players uncover a tragic story through a logbook found deep within the ship. To begin the quest, you first need to visit a location near Breville known as the Mouth of the Panther. Gilgondarin, the innkeeper at Silverhome on the water, will then point you to the site of the apparition. Investigating the area leads to the wrecked ship, where you learn about a mutiny, led by a man named Gable against his captain, Lawton. The names are a deliberate reference to Mutiny on the Bounty, a film based on real events in which Clark Gable and Charles Lawton portrayed the rebellious first mate and the tyrannical captain, respectively. Like in the film, the story ends in disaster at sea, echoing the consequences of betrayal and the breakdown of order aboard a doomed ship. Later in the game, once you discover the hidden shrine of Boethia, you'll have the chance to make an offering using a rare item called a Daedra Heart. If accepted, Boethia summons you to an island floating above molten lava, where you must prove yourself in a brutal tournament by defeating 9 other challengers in one-on-one combat. As each opponent enters the arena, Boethia announces them with dramatic flair, then calls out their defeat as they fall. After you take down his chosen orc, he remarks,
"Alas, poor, this was not your finest hour."
A line widely understood as a reference to Shakespeare's Hamlet, specifically the scene where Hamlet mourns the jester Yorick.
Alas, poor Yorick.
Whoever brings me the diary of Amantius Electus without killing him will be invited into the guild.
Early in the Thieves Guild questline, you're sent to sneak into the home of a quiet scholar named Amantius Electus and steal his diary. The task seems simple enough, but if you actually take the time to read the journal, it reveals something far stranger. Amantius had been conducting a secret experiment involving a species of blood-feeding plants he called drinkers. His goal was to create a hybrid between vampire and plant, a living organism that could thrive on blood and perhaps offer some mysterious benefit to Cyrodiil. The diary outlines how the plants began with small animal blood, progressed to larger creatures, and eventually required human blood to survive. As the experiment spiraled out of control, Amantius began questioning the ethics of what he was doing. In the end, he admits to destroying both his notes and the plants themselves, fearing what they might become. The entire setup feels like a clear nod to the 1986 musical horror film Little Shop of Horrors, in which a florist unwittingly raises a bloodthirsty plant that becomes increasingly dangerous. Unlike that story, however, Amantius manages to stop his creation, barely, before it grows beyond his control.
Does it have to be human? Does it have to be mine? Where am I supposed to get it?
Feed me, Seymour. Feed me all night long.
Later in the Thieves Guild questline, you're sent to track down the boots of Springheel Jack, a legendary thief believed to have died over 300 years ago. Your search leads you to Jackben, Earl of Imbel, a noble living in the Imperial City who claims to be one of Springheel Jack's descendants. His name is a clever nod to the nursery rhyme Jack Be Nimble.
Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. Jack jump over the candlestick.
Jackman hands over the key to his family crypt without much resistance, but once inside, you discover the tomb is crawling with vampires. Deeper within, you come across Springheel Jack's long-lost diary, which reveals the twist. Jackman isn't a descendant at all. He's the original Springheel Jack, kept alive for centuries through vampirism. The character draws directly from an Old English urban legend about a cloaked figure known for leaping over rooftops and terrifying people with supernatural speed. The enchanted boots you recover at the end grant you enhanced jumping abilities, turning the myth into a tangible artifact, and Jack's secret into a very real piece of Tamrielic history. Deep within the Ayleid ruin of Vilverin, just a short walk northeast from where your journey begins in the Imperial prison sewer, you'll encounter a necromancer named Jalbert, unsurprisingly surrounded by corpses. In his room is an undelivered letter that explains how he ended up taking shelter in the ruins. According to the letter, Jalbert had been caught drinking blood by city guards, but was spared thanks to the intervention of an undercover vampire, Captain Alucardius. The name is no coincidence, it's Dracula spelled backward. Jalbert expresses relief that it was Alucardius who caught him and not someone else, saying he's content to remain hidden in Vilverin. It's a not-so-subtle nod to classic vampire lore and a direct reference to Castlevania, where Alucard is famously Dracula's son. The game includes another vampiric tale in the quest triggered at Azura's shrine, located in the Geralt Mountains. Offering Glow Dust begins a story involving 5 of her worshippers who were turned into vampires while attempting to slay the powerful vampire Dratic. Among the notes recovered during the quest is one written by Gola Gro Mosgol, one of the Afflicted. His name, and the style of the writing, allude to Frank Herbert's Dune series. In the books, a Gola is a regenerated clone created from the cells of the dead, an entity that resembles the original but carries new memories and identity. The line, "We praise her with the full fountain of our devotion," strongly echoes the ritualistic, almost liturgical tone of the Fremen religion. The connection is subtle but deliberate, drawing a parallel between Azura's afflicted followers and the reverent, hardened desert people of Dune, who embrace both death and rebirth as sacred truths. In the hidden corners of Oblivion, there are several layered references to the works of J.R.R. Tolkien, quiet nods that blend into the world without drawing attention to themselves. One of the more obscure examples appears at Knoll Mountain, where a Nord assassin named Havelstein Whoreblood stands watch with a massive wolf companion named Redmaw. The name Redmaw isn't random, it's a direct English translation of Carcharoth, the monstrous wolf from the Silmarillion. In Tolkien's lore, Carcharoth is a creature of immense size and rage, infamous for biting off the hand of the central character. In a separate hidden area, only accessible through developer testing commands, players can encounter a Nord test character named Boromir. The location itself doesn't serve any official gameplay purpose, but the name is almost certainly a reference to Boromir from The Lord of the Rings. While the in-game Boromir is female, her editor ID, test male fashion model, suggests a developer may have accidentally checked the wrong gender setting. The nod to Tolkien is further supported by Oblivion's own ties to the film adaptations, as Sean Bean, who portrayed Boromir in Peter Jackson's trilogy, also voices Martin Septim in the game.
We've been trapped here since the Daedra overran the city.
But Boromir isn't the only surprise hidden in the testing cells.
What? That really pisses me off.
One of the more well-known Easter eggs involves a special NPC who delivers voice lines performed by Todd Howard himself.
Oh no! What do we do? I'm so scared!
Next to him is a table holding a short letter signed by Todd, acting as a small in-game message from the director. Just outside, you'll find another NPC named Lynda Carter, outfitted as a warrior. It's a tribute to the actress best known for playing Wonder Woman in the Wonder Woman television series, which aired from 1975 to 1979. Carter also lent her voice to several characters in Oblivion, making her appearance here a double-layered reference to both her voice work and iconic role. The Tolkien references extend even further during a quest involving a merchant named Thorinir, who sells goods at unusually low prices in the Imperial City's market district. As you investigate the source of his merchandise, you eventually discover that his supplier has been acquiring items through grave robbery, something Thorinir was unaware of. In the supplier's home, you find a journal titled Macabre Manifest, which lists the names of the graves that were disturbed and the items taken. When you confront Thorinir with this evidence and convince him to set things right, he rewards you with a ring inscribed with strange markings, a clear nod to the One Ring. But the most obvious Tolkien reference lies within the manifest itself. One of the exhumed names is Oford Gabings, a scrambled anagram of Frodo Baggins. The items stolen from this grave include a travel cloak with a green and silver leaf fastener, similar to those gifted by the elves of Lothlorien, a glowing short sword with inlaid writing, likely representing Sting, a gold ring bearing an inscription, and a leather-bound travel journal which strongly resembles There and Back Again, Bilbo's memoir. And the number of precise callbacks makes this quest one of the most densely packed Tolkien tributes in all of Oblivion. Scattered throughout the game are moments of levity and satire that break from the otherwise serious tone of the game's world, often incorporating references to music, internet culture, or self-aware humor. One of the most overt examples of this is found in the Remastered edition, where a new console command has been added. This command references a viral comedy sketch by Justin Kuritzkis, in which a determined knight pleads with a merchant for his strongest potions in increasingly dramatic fashion, only to be denied again and again.
My potions are too strong for you, traveler.
The in-game description of the command adds another layer of reference, powers the player up with the means of defeating the Romans coming to conquer the last free village of Gaul. This line directly echoes the plot of the Asterix comic book series, in which a small Gallic village holds out against the Roman Empire with the help of a magic potion brewed by their druid. The result is a two-part cultural joke, one modern, one classic, embedded within a single debug function. Another long-running source of comic relief is Maik the Liar.
Maik knows much, tells some. Maik knows many things others do not.
An eccentric Khajiit who appears in nearly every Elder Scrolls game. Maik wanders the countryside and delivers cryptic, often nonsensical commentary when spoken to. His introductory line in Oblivion is a reference to Robert Heinlein's The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, in which the protagonist describes an artificial intelligence named Mike with the phrase, "Mike knows much, doesn't tell all." Beyond the literary allusion, Maik serves a larger purpose. His dialogue often parodies fan expectations, rumored features, and development commentary.
Some people wish to throw their weapons. That seems foolish to Maik. If you hold your weapon, you only need one. Levitation is for fools. Why would we want to levitate? Once you are up high, there is nowhere to go but down. Some people want special bows that take too long to load and need special arrows called bolts. Maik thinks they are idiots. Why would one want to swing a staff? A mace hurts more. Or a sword. Can't shoot a fireball from a sword, though.
There are many other such encounters, which include his quips about multiplayer, children in game, and mounted combat. In the Imperial City, players can purchase an item called the Blue Suede Shoes, a luxurious piece of clothing worn by the wealthy elite. This item's name is a direct reference to the 1955 rockabilly song Blue Suede Shoes by Carl Perkins.
Don't you step on my blue suede shoes,
which became even more iconic after being covered by Elvis Presley.
Two for the show, we're ready now, go, cat, go, don't you step on my blue suede shoes.
In Oblivion, there are quests that delve into themes of madness, spiritual distortion, and the blurred boundaries between reality and delusion.
I've seen your kind before. You've got blood on your hands. Keep your blade sheathed, you murdering bastard, or I'll put you down myself. Farewell, citizen.
One such quest is Through a Nightmare Darkly. You are tasked by a woman with entering his friend's mind, a man in comatose, to help him escape the dream world he created for himself. He had hoped to use it as a place of self-discipline and mental training, believing he could control its contents. But over time, the dream twisted into a nightmare from which he could no longer wake. The title of the quest is taken directly from a verse in the Bible, 1 Corinthians 13:12. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. The verse speaks of the imperfect nature of human understanding, of how we perceive truth as if through a dim mirror. In the quest, this theme is realized through the man's loss of perception, courage, resolve, and patience. In order to restore his sanity, we must pass each of the 4 trials and help bring these missing pieces back to him. The quest becomes a reflection on the dangers of self-isolation, unchecked ego, and the fallibility of human control. A similarly eerie story unfolds in the isolated village of Hackdirt, located west of Coral. You're sent there by a merchant to investigate the disappearance of her daughter, Dharma, only to find a town cloaked in secrecy and unease.
In case it may be useful, she was with Blossom, her horse, I mean.
Burned-out ruins surround the village, the remnants of buildings long since destroyed. From the moment you arrive, it's obvious you're not welcome. Ask anyone about Dharma and you'll be met with denial or silence. But it doesn't take long to uncover signs that the townspeople are lying. Behind Muslin's dry goods, in one of the ruined buildings, you find Blossom, Dharma's horse, abandoned and poorly hidden away. You can also find a room at the inn, likely where she was staying, torn apart, with clear signs that a struggle took place and she may have been taken by force. Eventually, a local named Jiv Hiriel breaks the silence, warning you that Dharma is in danger. He tells you she's being held in the caverns beneath the town and is soon to be sacrificed. As you descend into the underground tunnels, you uncover the truth. The villagers are members of a cult devoted to mysterious entities known as the Deep Ones, guided by a strange scripture called the Bible of the Deep Ones. The entire quest is a clear homage to H.P. Lovecraft's The Shadow over Innsmouth, in which a coastal town hides its alliance with aquatic horrors, and its people slowly lose their humanity. Oblivion mirrors this setup closely. Reclusive villagers, a trapped outsider, and a monstrous religion lurking beneath the surface. In Hackdirt's case, the subterranean worshippers, known as the Brethren, appear almost feral, dressed only in sackcloth pants and wielding clubs like primitive cavemen. Once you find Dharma, the final step is to guide her safely out of the cavern and back to her horse so she can escape. Southeast of Breville, just beyond a landmark known as the Mouth of the Panther, lies a modest bridge that appears unremarkable at first glance. But beneath it, the remains of a drowned troll can be found. On its body is a handwritten note, clumsy, misspelled, and deeply tragic.
Me worst troll ever. Nobody pay bridge toll. Me not scary enough. Me get drunk and troll drown.
The message reveals the creature's failure to live up to its imagined purpose as a menacing bridge guardian. It references the well-known children's story Three Billy Goats Gruff, in which a troll living under a bridge is outsmarted and ultimately defeated by a trio of increasingly larger goats. Here, Oblivion turns the tale on its head. Instead of a fearsome antagonist, the troll is a pitiful figure, one whose failure leads to a self-inflicted end. Another quest that plays with mythic imagery is Nature's Fury. As part of a trial, the player must face a massive bear known as the Forest Guardian. The creature charges aggressively, but any attempt to fight it results in failure. Instead, the only way to pass the trial is to refuse to fight, to flee or sidestep its attacks without raising a weapon. Killing the Guardian not only ends the trial unsuccessfully, but also increases the player's infamy. This scenario mirrors a scene from David Gemmel's Sword in the Storm, a novel from the Regante series. In the book, the protagonist Canavar encounters a giant bear in a sacred glade. Though the bear roars and postures, Canavar senses that the trial is not one of combat, but of restraint. He passes the test not by defeating the creature, but by walking around it peacefully. Both the game and the novel present the idea that true strength lies in self-control, and that not every threat should be met with force. In Coral, just in front of the South Gate, there's a statue that might look familiar to anyone with an eye for classical art. It's a clear rendition of Michelangelo's Pietà, the famous sculpture of the Virgin Mary holding the body of Christ. Meanwhile, down by the docks in Anvil, another statue rises from the water. This one appears to be a nod to the Little Mermaid, a well-known statue in Copenhagen that's become one of the most visited landmarks in Denmark. Oblivion doesn't call attention to either statue, but their design and placement suggest quiet tributes to iconic art from the real world. Another piece of hidden inspiration appears in the Battlehorn Castle DLC. After defeating a band of marauders who have overrun the stronghold in the Colovian Highlands, you're unexpectedly granted ownership of the castle. With the attackers driven out, control of Battlehorn passes directly to you.
I, Lord Kelvin, son of Jaren, and a sworn knight of the True Horn, upon my death, do hereby bequeath Battlehorn Castle and all her lands, dependents, and chattels to the bearer of this document.
Lord Kelvin, the previous owner, left behind a will revealing that his people had once been exiled from their homeland and were now quietly waiting under the command of their lord, Cain, who had vowed to one day lead them in reclaiming their place in Hammerfell. As you begin restoring the castle and upgrading its facilities, a secret eventually reveals itself. In your private quarters, a hidden area becomes accessible, where you find the journal of Kelvin's father. The journal tells a darker story.
I will set it all down here, clearly, so that others may judge whether I have done right or wrong. Cain returned last night, while the others were gone to the city. When Garradon woke me to tell me that Lord Cain had arrived, I was overjoyed at first. Lord Cain was accompanied by Ariel Gerard, a Breton battle mage of sinister reputation in Lane Lynn. He moved like an old man and barely spoke in my presence. He left a foul odor in his wake. Her story was appalling. Apparently, Cain had perished in battle shortly after we left, but by her arts, she had returned him to life. She actually believed that I would go along with her plan to install a necromantic puppet on the throne of Lanelin. I pretended to agree. I suggested that she tend to Lord Cain in the grotto until I had prepared the others. Once they were inside, I shut them in with Garridan's help.
The setup is a clear nod to the Legacy of Kain series, developed by Silicon Knights and Crystal Dynamics. In those games, a nobleman named Cain is also slain and revived by a necromancer, Mortanius, before setting out on a dark and complex journey marked by betrayal, bloodlines, and a transformation that reshapes his fate and the world around him. Not every reference in Oblivion is obvious. Some slip by in everyday dialogue. Offer a coin to a beggar and you'll usually hear,
"Blessings of Stendarr upon ye."
Stendarr, of course, is one of the 9 divines, the god of righteous might and merciful forbearance. But every so often, a beggar will instead say,
"Blessings of Mystara upon ye."
At first, it sounds like another in-universe deity, but Mystara isn't part of the Elder Scrolls pantheon at all. It's actually the name of a classic Dungeons & Dragons campaign setting. Why the line was included is anyone's guess, but it's one of those quiet nods that hints at the game's tabletop influences just beneath the surface. In the arena district of the Imperial City, there's a visual callback to the Elder Scrolls past. Posters around the arena show a group of warriors mid-battle, posed just like the cover art for the Elder Scrolls Arena, the very first game in the series. Each figure matches one of the original character classes, a small but thoughtful nod to where it all began. Some of Oblivion's most curious details lie in the homes no one talks about. Take Nerastarel's house in Skingrad. The building looks normal from the outside, well kept with only a leafless tree in the backyard to hint that something's wrong. But inside, it's crawling with undead, zombies, ghosts, and wraiths. The house's owner, Nerastarel, doesn't appear in the game and isn't listed in any of the files. No one in town mentions him either. It's led many players to believe he was a necromancer who lost control of his own creations, trapping himself in a house full of horrors. In Breville, a similar situation unfolds. A man named Gilgondarin talks about his neighbor's haunted house, but if you go there, nothing happens. Both of these quests were likely abandoned by Bethesda, and all that remains now are their unfinished beginnings, quiet reminders of stories that never fully unfolded. There's a long-running mystery involving Jib, the character you first meet at the very beginning of Morrowind. In Skyrim, he appears again, this time as a ghost, and mentions that after a series of adventures, he settled in Kvatch to focus on writing his autobiography. That's when the Oblivion Gate opened, leading to his death. The timelines seem to fit neatly with a popular fan theory. In Oblivion, after closing the Kvatch Gate, you can find a severed head inside one of the ruined houses. It has red eyes, a scar over the left eye, and distinct elven features, all of which fans believed might be a quiet nod to Jib's fate. But in the remastered version of the game, the head was quietly swapped out with a generic zombie model. Was it an accidental Easter egg that fans ran with? Or did Bethesda include the reference and later decide to walk it back? Not all of Oblivion's references come from pop culture. Some are more personal, jokes and nods to real-life people, and places tied directly to Bethesda itself. A few shops in the Imperial City seem to take inspiration from actual restaurants in Maryland, which is where Bethesda Softworks is based. Among these is the Main Ingredient, a catering business, cafe, and bakery that used to operate in Annapolis. Though it's now renamed Main and Market, the game preserves its original title. Another one is Three Brothers, a straightforward name that also matches an Italian restaurant in the area. These aren't major plot points or part of any quest, but they seem to be in jokes from the developers, quietly placed into the game world as a kind of personal signature, references most players would walk right past without realizing. A more detailed joke can be found in the lake just west of Fort Nickel, where a lone corpse lies underwater. If you search the body, it's identified as Nath Dyer, and you'll find a primrose along with an undelivered love letter. The letter reveals that Nath was planning to confess his feelings to someone he admired, but never got the chance. It's a quiet scene with no dialogue or quest attached to it, but if you dig into the game's files, things start to make more sense. The internal names for the body are Dead Lover Fort Nickel and Nathan McDyer, suggesting that this character is a reference to Nathan McDyer, who worked in Bethesda's quality assurance team. Taken together, the undelivered letter and the corpse's name seem like an internal joke, maybe about a real story among the devs, or a gentle ribbing about Nathan never proposing to his crush. Another example is buried in Fort Shinia, where you'll find a dead skeleton named Grand Struth. This skeleton is supposed to carry a piece of leveled magical armor, but when you loot the body, the armor never appears. The reason? The armor is set to appear only at a higher level than the one assigned to the skeleton. Unless you're using commands to manipulate the level scaling, the item never actually spawns. Like the previous case, the name is key. Grant Struth is a play on Grant Struthers, one of the 7 members of the world art team for the game. It's hard not to see this as another internal joke, either about something that got overlooked during development, or maybe just a friendly jab among the team, leaving Grant's skeleton embarrassingly unequipped. Even creature names weren't safe from the developer's sense of humor. In one bit of dialogue, NPCs mention Landrag and casually refer to them as Billies, though they admit they have no idea why. At first, it just sounds like random in-universe slang, but there's more to it. The nickname Billy actually came straight from the development team. In a behind-the-scenes note, one of the devs explained that Oblivion's bestiary was full of returning monsters and new additions, and the team had a habit of giving their favorites internal nicknames for fun. The Landrug variant was known internally as Codename Billy, and the name ended up sticking, making its way into the game through offhand NPC chatter. Fafnir, the Nord guard you encounter at Summit Mist Manor, shares his name with one of the oldest dragons in European mythology. In the Volsunga saga, Fafnir is a cursed dwarf turned dragon, who hoards a great treasure and is ultimately slain by the hero Sigurd. In Oblivion, the legend is reimagined with a twist. Fafnir guards not a mountain of gold, but a manor and rumors of a hidden fortune. The quest Whom Gods Annoy carries another classical reference, though it leans more literary than mythological. In this quest, you're asked to retrieve the Staff of the Everscamp, a cursed artifact that causes 4 scamps to follow whoever holds it, no matter where they go. The name of the quest is drawn from an old proverb: whom the gods would destroy, they first make mad. The title fits well. The staff is annoying, the scamps are relentless, and the madness it brings to its bearer is very much the point. Inside the Dark Brotherhood Sanctuary in Cheydinhal, there's an NPC named Antoinette Marie. Her name is a clear reference to Marie Antoinette, the 18th century Queen of France who was famously executed during the French Revolution. The choice is fitting. Antoinette is one of the Brotherhood's youngest and most naive members, a character with noble airs in a den of killers. If you ask her about rumors, she'll even speak about her ambition to become the next leader of the Sanctuary, which adds a darkly ironic touch to the reference.
Don't tell anyone else, but someday I'm going to have Ochiva's position. Just you wait and see. Lucien the Chance knows real talent when he sees it.
The name Black Hand also carries a weight beyond Tamriel. In the game, the Black Hand is the ruling council of the Dark Brotherhood, a shadowy group of elite assassins. But in real-world history, the Black Hand was a secret Serbian military society involved in the 1914 assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, an event that triggered World War I. While the organization in Oblivion is fictional, its name draws from this very real and deadly group. In Bruma, there's a shop named Nova Roma. At first glance, it sounds like just another vendor, but the name has a deeper historical meaning. Nova Roma, Latin for New Rome, was the name given to Constantinople when it was founded by Emperor Constantine in 330 CE. It was intended to serve as a second Roman capital, matching Rome in prestige and wealth. There's also a real-world group by the same name, Nova Roma, a Roman revivalist organization established in 1998. Whether the in-game name points to the ancient city, the modern group, or both, the connection to Roman heritage is unmistakable. Visual references are hidden in the architecture as well. The exterior of Castle Skingrad strongly resembles Bran Castle in Romania, often called Dracula's Castle. Though the historical Vlad the Impaler never lived there, Bran Castle became famous as the supposed home of Count Dracula in Bram Stoker's novel. Its pointed towers and looming stonework make it one of the most recognizable Gothic structures in the world, and an unmistakable inspiration for Skingrad's castle design. Finally, Fort Caractacus, an Aeoliad ruin located in the heart of Cyrodiil, takes its name from a 1st century British chieftain named Caradocus, sometimes spelled Caractacus. He led the resistance against the Roman invasion of Britain and became a symbol of defiance. Though the fort itself doesn't dwell on his story, the use of his name connects the ruins to real-world history. That's a wrap on the video. If you found it insightful or entertaining, please leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.